I sent you some text messages after our last call talking about how I want to get the habit of intentional imaginal acts every day
Yeah. Nice.
versus the dreaming versus dreaming and just letting my mind and consciousness drift where it wants to drift every day. What could you recommend for something like that? And maybe you don't
Have
know, but
have a definite ending to the imaginal experience before you begin.
wait a minute, let me hear that again. So you're saying if I have an imaginal act and I want to imagine something, have the end set up first
Yes.
before I do the intentional imaginal act.
Yep.
Imagine what the end is going to be and imagine.
Yeah. Yep. So we know what
Okay.
the ending is. Neville gives a great experience on this where he says something like, if the end is lighting a cigarette, I'm sorry, if the end is shaking a hand, you shake the hand. You
Right.
don't shake the hand, light a cigarette, continue talking,
And do
whatever.
do
Yeah.
20 other things, right?
Yeah. So when I imagine compliments, and I get a lot of compliments, my experience ends with me feeling proud, feeling good about myself, accepting that. And so I really imagine, let's say one of the lifeguards give me a compliment. How do I feel about that? Just really accepting that. And sure enough, I mean, I'll go to the pool and someone will give me a compliment. But more importantly, that's implying that I deserve a compliment because of what I'm doing.
Right.
So that's my
Wow.
imaginal
Well
act.
said. Well
That's my
said.
imaginal act for this. And the compliment can vary. Yeah, you've lost a lot of weight. You're moving a ton better. I wouldn't have recognized you. I had that one pop back within 12 hours. So I was reading one of Neville's things where he says, would they recognize you? And I thought, oh, that's cool. I'd like that. And so I'm imagining being unrecognizable. And I go to the pool the next day, my buddy John, who's a really intelligent guy, and he tells me he goes, looking at your biomarkers, he's that kind of guy. And he goes through a bunch of stuff and he goes, if I didn't come to the pool regularly, I wouldn't have recognized you. And it's like, nice. Got it.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So just nailing, how do I feel? Here's the end of my imaginal act. It always ends with how I feel. How do I feel about somebody who I know and love saying, I wouldn't even recognize you? Or something like that.
It's always how would I feel?
For me, always.
Okay.
So even when I imagine for you, so I'm a greedy bastard, Joe. I want to see your movie with you in the cinema, which means something. Either you get me a private jet with some nice whiskey for me and my family, or right, you fly your ass down to Australia.
Done.
Right?
Right.
So either way, I remember you as that big guy that was here a few years ago, and I also imagine you as this mean motor scooter, like who's got this going on, lost the weight, moving like a champ. Yeah, because I know what it's like to move like a champ. I've only lost 30 pounds. I asked Victoria this morning, I said, did you hear that? She's like, hear what? So I go over and she's still in bed looking on her iPad. And I sit down next to the bed, just chat her up a little bit. I stand up. And sure enough, she gets to go, oh, that, right? You know, because before I'd measure my pain level and how many motherfucks I say while I stand up or sit down. and I haven't done that in a long time. But now when I get up or sit down, it's not a chore. It's not like I got up, so I got to plan 10 things to do while I'm up. I get up and I sit down. And so even that, so my imaginal experience of, standing up is not a big deal. What's my experience of standing up and having it not be a big deal? That's implying my hip health.
Right. Okay. And you imagine how you'd feel when Victoria recognized that you didn't say 3 or 4 motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 3 or 4, Joe. That would have been a slow day 2 years ago.
But the it's the feeling of, instead of like the feeling of her yum over the dinner and the food, it's the
Yes.
feeling of wow, you're not cursing.
Yep. And I'll bring it back one more, right? I don't feel like a burden.
Wow, yeah.
So when I can bring it back to what's the ultimate end feeling for me, I imagine you with this big cheesy grin that like nobody should have on the face of the earth unless they really kicked ass. But I imagine you with a big cheesy grin when you have seen people watching your movies or when you overhear them. So my experience of your big cheesy grin because of what you've done. So before I imagine, I go, right, what's my experience? Yeah, that's my buddy. Who fuck. So there's my end. And when I get to that, when I experience that, yep, that's my buddy, I'm done.
Well, that's fantastic. At the Melbourne premiere, that we're all there, and
that's right.
we're all out. We're all out to some fantastic place with Australian lobster tails and red meat.
Yep. What's cool is we've already done this with Laurel Chiton. Laurel Chiton made that movie on homeopathy.
Yeah.
And she included Neville's name and my name in the credits. I thought that was fun. But it was like, radio, we get to go to the showing of her movie in Melbourne. Why not?
And did you?
Yeah.
So she had a premiere in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. So I draw upon that as a resource state, except I don't think she took us out to dinner. Right. so I get to imagine us going out to dinner afterwards, right? Maybe to the Korean joint with the robots.
I mean, Scotty and I picked out a barbecue place you got in Melbourne, but I may stay an extra night and do both of them. Do the Korean place.
You can stay an extra night and we'll do both of them.
Yeah, it's important to travel that long distance, and we're both carnivores. It's important to get some red meat while I'm there. And I absolutely love lobster tails. And I just saw Australian lobster tails, which are the size of American footballs, basically. They have a place in Vegas, and they're like $85 each, but nice. They're ginormous.
Yeah. Nice.
Now I got to get one of these places if they'll do what my favorite Rodizio place does in Ironbound, Newark. If they'll make me a bowl of melted garlic butter to dip my red meat and lobsters in.
Of course they will.
When I bring people to Rodizio, this food is really good. Yeah, they just gave me a bowl of melted garlic butter. You want to try it? Oh my God! Can I get a bowl of melted garlic butter? Yeah. Give me 2 minutes, and they bring him. Oh my fucking God! It's like a game changer if you like to go out and eat red meat.
So I get to slice into that. You got it? So I can build that into a final scene. Make that the ending.
Right. And well, but it has to. It somehow has to imply this is after the movie premiere.
Yeah, totally. Easy.
Okay. Well, how would I imply? How would we imply?
Yeah, if you know, God knows.
You told me that once before, and that's perfect. That's magic.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't got to figure out logically. That only gets in the way.
Right.
But the fact that you're here, garlic butter, good food, little Korean girl, robot, whatever the fuck I choose.
Yeah.
If I know, God knows.
I'm just saying, do I also imagine you, Victoria, Yaz, and the boys. So, oh my God, Joe, that movie was crazy. That's fucking amazing. Over the
Yeah, why
table
not?
with all this food.
Yeah, why not?
Does that work, or is that overdoing it?
You just find that there'll be a slice in time which nails it for you. And one day the slice in time for me was voting.
Yeah.
Another day the slice in time was being pissed off at these assholes that don't appreciate the country that we're in. But when I had the combination of, it took 2-3 separate imaginal acts, but whenever it all came together, citizenship was not bothering me at all. I just went through life, built business, did what I do, so on and so forth. Met the South African girl, called it a day.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yes.
Beauty. It is time for me to go, my friend. Love you, Joe. Kick ass.
Love you too. Love you too. And thanks for everything, as always.
Keep me in the loop while you're out there. You know.
Always. Absolutely.
All right. What am I imagining? Well, I know what I'm imagining for you. I'm not telling you. Love you, Joe. Have a great week.
Love you too.
See you, Joe.
All right. Take care.